All right, everybody, welcome back to the Horn Takes podcast, your Texas football and baseball talk destination. I'm your host, Sean Redfern. It is a Longhorn Friday. We are always excited about Fridays. We especially love Longhorn Fridays because that means we got a game tomorrow. I was just talking to a friend this morning, and we were kind of talking about just, being excited for the game tomorrow and kind of got on the subject of, man, it's kind of crazy. We're excited for like a ULM game. But back in the day, for 10, 12 years, we were just not excited to watch Texas football because it just wasn't good. I mean, we were there, we were watching, we were hoping, but man, it's just a different feel today. It's a good team. You know if they lose, and they will lose. Texas will lose. May not lose this year, may not lose probably for the next 10 years, but at some point Texas is going to lose. And you just know that it's not going to be because of something stupid. It's not going to be because they don't have a good roster. It's not going to be because they don't have good coaches. It's not going to be because the team is not playing like a team. So it's exciting times, Texas fans. We're going to do four keys and a prediction for this ULM game today. And then say it ain't so, Coach Prime. We got to talk about Colorado Buffalo, Coach Dion, like latest bullshit in the media. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Listen to the podcast at Apple Podcast, iHeart Podcast, Spotify Podcasts. You can find us at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com. That is horntakespodcast.buzzsprout. Buzz like a bee, sprout like a sprouting plant.com. Check us out. Maybe you're in a car all day. Maybe you get on planes a lot. You can download them, listen to them on the plane. That's what I would do if I was y'all. Four keys and a prediction. For these games like this, it's sometimes hard to come up with four keys because you you kind of just get into the same. It's actually kind of hard to get four keys every single week because really football boils down to just a few things. Like you want to be good in the trenches, you want to be able to run the football, you want to be able to stop the run, you want to be clean, and a lot of that is what we got here today, folks. But I think for this game in particular, it's like not just blowing smoke. It's not just taking the party line. It's like legit things Texas has got to do to not win this game, but to play as good as Texas can play and continue being the number one team in the country, right? So key number one, show up. And I don't mean that arrogantly. I'm not saying Texas just shows up, they're going to win this game. Although kind of think Texas just shows up, they're going to win this game. What I mean is they need to show up and be ready to play. They're starting to get to the point in the season where the level of competition is going to start getting better. They're going to run into some teams. I mean, I don't think Mississippi State is all that great of a team. They're probably not as bad as ULM. They're probably not as bad as UTSA, but they're probably not as good as Michigan. They're certainly not going to be as good as Oklahoma. They're not going to be as good as Georgia. You start SEC play next Saturday. You're the number one team in the country. Your opponent is completely outmatched. But the problem is 18 to 21-year-old men that are in these men's situations have a lot of distractions. Now with NIL, it's even worse. They got car deals and they got clothing deals and they got any kind of deal you can think of. They got these deals and they got ladies they're chasing. Maybe guys they're chasing. I don't know. There's a lot of distractions that probably girls has always been there, but they just haven't had to deal with the same type of distractions. Like media didn't show up for everything. There wasn't like talk to the players in the middle of the week. There just was not a lot of that stuff, a couple decades ago. And now people can't get enough of media. People can't get enough of the players. People can't get enough of the coaches. So true, there are tons of distract. There's social media itself. Getting involved too heavily in that or worrying about what people are saying about you all over social media. Lots of distractions. But you want to be great? You got to show up as your best self every single time you get an opportunity. Texas has the opportunity to show up on Saturday and just beat the piss out of somebody that they should beat the piss out of. You only get 12 regular season games a year. And the older I get, the smaller and smaller that number seems like. But if you're a player, you only get 12 for sure regular season games. Don't waste a single second of that time because in a blink, you're going to be my age. And maybe you've been highly successful, maybe you haven't. Probabilities will be probabilities. But don't waste the time you got. Show up. I don't give a damn if I've said this before on this show. When I played football, I played in high school and I played a little bit in college. I didn't care how bad our opponent was or how bad the guy across from me was or how good he was for that matter. I wanted to beat his ass every single play. I wanted to hit people and make them cry. I wanted people to quit playing football because of me. And in the past, we haven't seen Texas do that. And that's why they went 10, 12 years without being really good at football. Because they were just out there they're out there trying to make the NFL. They were out there, you know, trying to impress the girls. They weren't there for the right reasons. And for me, sure, there's all these other things, man. You can do really well for yourself in football. And these guys should pay attention to that, especially now with NIL. They should worry. I mean, maybe not worry about it, but they should be looking into how they can better their financial situation and and the things they need to do to go to the NFL and be successful in the NFL. But when game time comes, it should just be about strapping it up and just going and busting people up. I see a lot of that in this team. This team wants to go beat people. Like football is one of the only places on the planet where it is legal to just go crash into people and hurt people. And I don't mean like hurt them, like tear their knees up and break their. I don't mean that. I mean just like impose your will onto another human being is totally legal in football. I can't tell you how many times in practice kids on my own team would get pissed at me because I went full blast in practice. I wanted to hurt people. I wanted to hurt people's feelings. If you weren't tough enough to be on the team, I wanted you to not be on the team because you were sick of me beating on you all day long, every day in practice. Don't waste it, Texas. Number two, they need to stop the run. And I know we just talked about how that's kind of cliche, but this is true. ULM really likes to do it, and they're actually pretty good at it. They're ranked 24th in the country. They average 209 yards per game on the ground. They kind of line up in this little offset eye in the shotgun. Sometimes they'll go one back with a pistol or offset. I mean, they have a lot of different sets. So they have a lot of different looks. They do motion out of it, try to get people in different matchups. They get the QBs involved in the run game. I don't know how much, but I've seen it on some of the highlights. So that's what ULM wants to do. They've only thrown the ball 31 times in 2 games this season so far. And if you stop the run, General Booty has got to beat you with his arm. He doesn't have a lot of weapons. I don't think they really have like an outside downfield threat type of guy. I mean, I'm sure they've got some guys that can, but they don't have like Ryan Wingo. We said that ULM's attempted 31. Booty's attempted 30 of those, 15 passes a game. I think you stop the run, you let that pass rush, that Texas pass rush, that improved Texas pass rush. I think they get to start eating a little bit, start making the fans happy with some more sacks. A lot of you guys out there are worried still about the sacks. They're getting tons of pressure. Tons of pressure. Those sacks will come. I think more importantly than just like completely stopping the run is no big plays on the running game. Like, I don't really care. I wouldn't care if ULM got 200 yards on the ground as long as they had to do it with like 50 or 60 carries. You know what I mean? Like, I do not want to see a guy from ULM running free in the secondary because some people up front missed their assignments. If Texas stops the ULM run, though, the way they are capable of stopping the run, this game is going to get absolutely disgustingly ugly. Number 3, establish the run. I think Arch Manning's going to be great. Today he's really inexperienced, and I know it's just ULM, and I know he looked great coming in off the bench last week against UTSA, but starting and coming off the bench and playing, two different things. He's had all week to know I'm the starter. And by the way, folks, I don't think a lot of this is going to affect Arch Manning. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of anxiety or nervousness or nervous energy, whatever you want to call it, for Arch because he's starting that he probably doesn't have when he is not starting. But there will be some. ULM's going to throw a lot of pressure at him. They already do that. They bring it from all different angles. They bring it from different positions. And this ULM pass rush is pretty freaking good. We talked about it yesterday. I think they have 7 sacks on the season. An effective running game by Texas will take all that pressure off him, make him not have to win the game on his own. Wear him out on the ground. You slow him down on passing downs. They don't have a lot of depth. So you keep leaning on these big dudes and just driving the ball down the field. When you do want to pass, I don't care how effective they are in the pass rush, they're going to be out of breath. They're going to be out of energy. The other thing is I really love Trey Owens, but I don't want to ever see the third quarterback in a game until it's late and we're winning by a lot. In other words, I don't want Arch Manning to get hurt. Every single unit on this ULM team is outmatched by the opposing unit for the Texas team. But I think as outmatched as any of them is this defensive line. They are just really, really undersized. They don't have a guy over 300 pounds. Most of them are sitting at 275, 280. They got no depth. This ULM run defense ranked 23rd in the country. They only give up 92 yards per game. If you're ULM, nothing says we don't have a chance today like Texas just taking the ball and ramming it down their throats at the beginning of the game. Just consistently pushing it right down their throat. I think at some point this Texas team's going to have to rely on the running game. So work it. Remember, we talked a couple weeks ago about how these games are just practice for the bigger games down the line. You're going to, they say practice how you want to play. Well, you got to play in these games the way you want to play in big games. I think if you're Texas, you want to be able to run the football. And for fuck's sakes, please bust one. The long rush for a Texas running back this season is 23 yards by walk-on Colin Page. Just haven't seen a ton of room up front, and for whatever reason, we haven't been getting to the second level. I mean, honestly, we talk about these wide receivers all the time, how good they are in the passing game. They're probably just not that good blocking. I mean, you had Adonai Mitchell last year that could block, big physical dude. Xavier Worthy probably wasn't blocking a lot of people. So these guys got to block better downfield, help these running backs out. Finally, got to take the ball away. ULM hasn't had a turnover all season. Texas has taken the ball away in each of its first three games. Stealing stealing possessions could be the key to victory in a tight game. Play on Saturday the way you want to play against Georgia. Play on Saturday the way you want to play against Oklahoma. Prediction time. Texas has a 99.8% probability to beat Louisiana Monroe, and I think that is low. ULM is like just completely undersized in the trenches. They don't have a lot of playmakers offensively. Nobody on this ULM team would crack the two deep on this Texas roster, and probably there aren't many of them that would even make the Texas roster. ULM's going to come in. They're going to be hyped up a little bit on the heels of their coaches just saying some ridiculous things in press conferences this week. I'm not a big believer in bulletin board material, but I do think you can poke the bear, and I do not understand why you would poke the bear. I mean, even the coaches got to know. I mean, the coaches are kind of standing there like those coaches talking that trash in those press conferences kind of reminds me of like the kid in junior high that's like trying to get two other kids to fight. Like trying to get the undersized like kid, the weakling kid that cannot win the fight, trying to get him to fight just so he can see the ass whipping. That's what I feel like those coaches are. They're instigating an ass whipping when they could have just sat back and just maybe not took as much of an ass whipping. I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not big on the bulletin board stuff, but man, if I was a head coach in college football and teams were talking trash on my team or on my players, I would just, y'all know my thoughts on scoring, man. I would not stop scoring. I just would not do it. So they're going to come in, they're going to be ready to play, and everybody's ready to play when they come to Texas. We all know that. But Texas at home at night is going to be way, way too much for ULM. I mean, it's not even a question of winning or losing. There is a 0% chance that Texas loses this game. 0. Question is, how badly do they beat ULM? And the line on this game is big. We've seen a lot of pretty big lines. This one is massive. Minus 44.5 for Texas. Texas is easily covered in every game so far this season. And obviously, I think they do it again. Texas is going to win this one 59-6 over ULM, which is surprisingly close. Man, I don't know what's going on. CJ Vogel, he's on Texas football. He's a Twitter personality, I guess. One of the first people when I got on Twitter, was it like like 2 summers ago was when I first really got on Twitter. I think I opened an account for Horn Takes sometime in January. I've never really had a personal account. I did, but I never used it. I don't know. I just didn't get Twitter, I guess. But when I really started looking on Twitter, he was one of the first sort of Texas people I found a tweet of, and so I followed him. Man, our predictions so far this year have been ridiculously, eerily close. He's got Texas 52-6. And every single prediction that I've done has been really close to his. And the predictions have been actually pretty good. I don't know, man. Maybe we're linked somehow in the universe or something. I don't know. But I got 59-6. He's got 52-6. We'll see who comes out better this week. Say it ain't so. Guys, Coach Prime's assault. I mean, Coach Prime and Colorado Buffaloes just continue to get more and more ridiculous. I'll tell you what it is in a minute, but so his assault on sports media continued this week. Some press conference, he starts calling reporters envious and jealous of all the players because they make more money than them, so they're going to attack them, is what he says. Y'all attack them because y'all are envious. and they make more money than y'all. Which is a really odd response to a very mild question about what sort of life lessons does he talk to Travis Hunter about? Because he talks all the time about how he loves these kids, and he's not just here to coach them; he's teaching them about life, which I think is admirable. If that's the case, I think that's admirable. You should be doing that stuff because a lot of these kids aren't playing football later on in life. So why, when someone asks you about that, instead of taking that opportunity to just talk about that more, you go into this freaking soliloquy about how, and I don't even know if he referenced anything specifically. I couldn't find anything on the internet that was referenced specifically. But man, Deion is just having a real tough time dealing with any kind of negative media. And I don't even mean like negative media. I just mean like media that doesn't portray him and his program as the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's shit like this that I tried to warn a lot of you guys a couple years ago about, and all of the fake college football fan Deion cultists out there, the ones that are Colorado fans because Deion's the coach, that have never been Colorado fans, they've never paid attention to college football. I tried to tell y'all this shit will not work in college. He coaches Colorado like some of these damn Taifa coaches coach Taifa League. It's all hype. It's all social media posts. It's all malleousness. That shit will not work in college football. You are destined to fail. And I tried really hard to tell you people this. Some of y'all might have listened. I don't know. Probably some of y'all listened. But a lot of people gave me a lot of backlash about my opinions on Coach Prime. And a lot of it is just really low ball, stupid shit like, oh, you just don't like Coach Prime. Man, I don't even know Coach Prime. I have no idea if I like him. I know he sucks as a coach. I know he's not good at his job. All this crap he's doing right now is just a deflection away from the fact that he is doing an awful job as the head coach at Colorado. He doesn't recruit. This guy has been on 0 in-home visits for high school recruits. He's been on 0 visits at all that I'm aware of to any recruits. He is severely outmatched every Saturday when he steps on the field from a coaching perspective. He cannot build a winning culture because even if he could, he won't, because he flips the roster every single year. And I know I'm going to get the old, well, what was he supposed to do? Keep all these players from a 1-11 team? If you're a good coach and you can build a culture, I'm not saying you keep them all, but you don't gut your team. I mean, he sent 50 something guys, maybe 60 something guys packing off that team. You got to figure most D1 programs, the scholarship limit's 85 still, but you got to figure most of them are carrying 115, 120, maybe 125 players, somewhere around in there. Half of them gone. Some of them left on their own because of that bullshit he pulled when he came walking in there and here's your quarterback. Don't say that shit. Now the ratings are starting to plummet. Nobody wants to watch him play because it's a fucking joke, just like it was last year. But at least last year it was an exciting joke, right? All those ratings were from the fake ass Deion cult people that I was talking about earlier that have never watched college football before. They're only watching because it's Coach Prime. And now that they're garbage, they don't want to waste their time watching that shit. So their ratings are plummeting. Coach Prime is soft. Soft. Him and the program are dying, like right in front of our eyes. It's about to implode, folks. And I'll go ahead and double down. Prime will not be the head coach at Colorado after this season. Shiloh is gone. Shadir Sanders is gone. Travis Hunter is gone. Those are the only 3 things on that team that he gives a flying fuck about. He's not going to get fired because CU can't afford it. I mean, they had to I don't know how they got there. They had to go dig up jars of pennies underneath the patio to freaking pay him the first time. They certainly can't find somebody else to pay. He's going to leave CU the same way he left Jackson State. He's just going to leave. He's going to get called by God to go do something different. And who knows what it'll be. There's people this week talking about him being the Florida State head coach. If Florida State hires him, let's just say for the sake of argument that Deion does quit. He's done at CU after this season, which I honestly do believe is a very high possibility. If Florida State reached out to him to be their next head coach, they are no better than the clown school they got going on campus. Just call the Florida athletic department a clown athletic department, because that's what they would be. That is unserious. It cannot be done. Should not be done. We will be back on Monday with some drunk Sean thoughts. I'll try to get 10 thoughts. I'm going to try to scribble down 10 drunk Sean thoughts from the game Saturday as I'm watching it on SEC Network Plus, Zoom, Stream, whatever. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Give us a subscribe. Give us a follow. It won't cost you guys a thing. We sure would appreciate it. Email us at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. Folks, it is Friday. You guys have an outstanding weekend, and we will see you back on Monday. Y'all get hooked.